you compete with big brands on social media with little to no budget? Absolutely. Most businesses burn cash on social media ads that don't work. But what if you could grow your brand without overspending? We'll walk you through the smartest low-cost strategies that drives engagement, builds an audience, and boosts sales. Plus, the best free and affordable tools to streamline your efforts. If you're running paid social ads, then don't miss this one.
All right, so are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so today we're tackling this idea of mastering social media, but like on a budget, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Right.
And, you sent over this podcast, Mastering Social Media on a Budget, and
It's a good one.
it is a good one. I was really impressed, and we're going to kind of like dig into some of the big takeaways and kind of like see if we can answer that question. Like, is it really possible?
Yeah. Can you really make a splash without like breaking the bank?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a good place to start is this idea that you don't have to have a massive budget to win at social media.
Yeah. And sometimes actually having a tight budget can force you to be more creative and strategic.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was interesting how the podcast really emphasized setting clear goals,
Yeah.
but not just like the typical, gain more followers or whatever.
Right. Because what does that even mean?
Exactly. So they had this really cool example of Glossier,
Oh, yeah.
the beauty brand.
Glossier is interesting because they didn't focus so much on follower count. They really focused on getting their customers to share their experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like turning everyday people into these brand ambassadors.
That's so smart.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's all built on that like authentic engagement.
Right. It's not just chasing numbers. It's like real people.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's working for the podcast mentioned something like 77% of consumers are more likely to buy from brands that they follow on social media.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's huge. So clearly something's working there. But then it gets even more interesting because they talk about choosing the right platform.
right.
And this is where I always get tripped up because I feel like I need to be on all of the platforms.
You and everyone else.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It is.
So how do you even choose?
Well, so they highlight Soko Glam,
Okay.
the Korean beauty retailer,
Okay.
and they saw explosive growth by focusing primarily on Instagram.
Interesting.
And this makes sense
Mhm.
because their products are super visual. Instagram is all about that.
Totally.
And they found that engagement on Instagram was 10 times higher than on Facebook.
Wow, 10 times. That's a big difference.
Yeah, a big difference.
Okay, so I guess it's like understanding where your audience hangs out
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of content they respond to.
Yeah, but then the question becomes, how do you create that content?
Right. Because good content can feel expensive.
Well, and that's where the podcast really shines, I think, is it gives you these like actionable steps.
Yeah.
Like they talk about Canva.
I love Canva.
I know you do.
Such a good tool.
It's amazing for creating, professional looking visuals, even if you're not a designer.
Right. Even I can make something decent looking on Canva.
But do people really care about that, do you think?
Well, they mentioned that visual content is 40 times more likely to be shared on social media.
Wow.
So 40 times.
Think about it when you're scrolling through your feed. What stops you?
It's true. A pretty picture or a video will stop my scroll for sure. Okay, so we've got visually appealing content. We've got the right platform.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get people to actually see your stuff?
Right, because you're battling the algorithms.
It feels like a losing battle sometimes.
So this is where organic growth comes in.
Okay, tell me more.
This is where the podcast gets funny. They use this hilarious example of Tushy,
Tushy.
the bidet company.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
So they built this massive following by being super relatable and funny.
Okay.
They tapped into everyday humor, and they just understood their audience
Right.
and they created content that was like designed to be shared.
So it's like building a community around your brand rather than just shouting your message.
Exactly.
But can organic growth really move the needle? Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're first starting out?
That's a great question. And actually, they addressed that head on in the podcast.
Okay.
They said that consumers are 57.5% more likely to buy from a brand they follow on social media.
So that organic engagement really does translate.
Yeah, but they also acknowledge that sometimes, a little boost can be helpful.
Okay, so we're not ruling out paid advertising completely.
Not at all. It's about being strategic.
Okay.
Instead of just throwing money at broad campaigns, they recommend targeted ads.
So like laser focus instead of shotgun blast.
Exactly, and they have a great example to illustrate this
Kind of
point.
lay it on me.
Okay, so they talk about Bombas,
Bombas.
the sock company.
Okay.
They're known for super comfy socks, and their commitment to giving back to the community.
I love that.
Now, they could just like blast their ads to everyone,
Right.
but that wouldn't be very effective.
No.
So instead, they use Facebook Ads Manager to target people who are interested in things like ethical fashion, comfortable footwear supporting social causes.
That's so smart.
It's about finding those common threads that connect your brand.
It's like they're speaking directly to their people.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, but Facebook Ads Manager always seemed a little intimidating to me.
It can be.
Is it really something a beginner can handle?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's definitely a learning curve,
Okay.
but the podcast breaks it down and makes it feel way more approachable.
Okay, good.
And the best part is you don't have to commit to this huge budget. You can set your daily spending as low as $1 and then scale up as you get more comfortable.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Right? It's like dipping your toes in the pool
Exactly.
before you do a cannonball.
Okay. But I also want to make sure, like, even with a small budget, that I'm getting a good return on my investment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they actually addressed that in the podcast.
Did they?
They said businesses make an average of $5 for every $1 spent on Facebook ads.
Wow. Okay.
Of course, your mileage may vary,
Right.
but it shows the potential.
Yeah.
And speaking of doing things right, they also highlighted some key tools.
Oh, yes. This is what I'm here for. I need, like, tools and resources.
I know.
Help me level up my social media game.
Okay, so they recommend 3 essential tools,
Give them to me.
and they all have free or affordable plans, which is perfect.
Okay.
So we already touched on Canva
Yes, love it.
for creating those stunning visuals,
Mm-hmm.
but they also recommend Hootsuite for managing multiple platforms and scheduling posts.
Okay.
And then, of course, Facebook Ads Manager for the targeted advertising.
So let's break those down one by one.
Okay,
Canva we've gushed about.
we've covered that one.
But Hootsuite, what is that?
Okay, so imagine like a command center for all your social media.
Oh.
That's basically what Hootsuite is.
Okay.
You can schedule posts in advance across multiple platforms.
Nice.
You can track your performance. You can even collaborate with your team if you have one.
That sounds amazing.
Right, so if you're feeling overwhelmed by social media, Hootsuite can be a lifesaver.
Well, I definitely feel overwhelmed, so that sounds good.
Yeah, and their free plan is actually really good.
Oh, tell me more.
You can manage up to 3 social accounts and schedule up to 30 messages in advance.
Wow.
They even offer a free trial of their professional plan, which gives you unlimited scheduling and more in-depth analytics.
It's free.
The trial is free.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Did they mention any specific examples of businesses using Hootsuite successfully?
Yeah, they highlighted Etsy sellers
Oh, that makes sense.
who often have to juggle multiple social media accounts.
Right. They're always on top of their game.
Yeah, and they talked about how Hootsuite helps them stay organized, schedule posts, track their performance without getting like bogged down.
Okay. I like that.
Right.
Okay. So Canva, Hootsuite, Facebook Ads Manager. Let's revisit that.
Okay.
You mentioned it has a learning curve, but is it really worth the effort?
Yes, it's so powerful. It can really help you reach the right people with the right message.
Okay.
Remember laser focus,
Yes.
not shotgun blast.
Got it.
Facebook Ads Manager lets you create these highly targeted ads based on demographics, interests, behaviors, and even lookalike audiences. And then you can track your performance test, different variations, and adjust your campaigns.
Oh, okay. That's making me feel more excited than intimidated.
Good.
And it's pay as you go, right?
Exactly. You have complete control over your budget.
I like that.
And the podcast had this really great example of a company using Facebook Ads Manager effectively.
Okay, tell me more.
Wink,
Wink.
the wine subscription service.
Okay.
I'm listening.
That
Wine?
always gets my attention.
So they've used these really targeted ads to reach people who are interested in wine, like foodies,
Yeah.
people who like to cook, or those who follow wine pages on social media.
That's smart.
And they've seen a great return on their investment because they're really narrowing their focus.
So it's like finding the right people with the right message at the right time.
Yes.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
So it feels like, we're talking about all these different things, clear goals, right platforms,
Yeah.
awesome content,
Yep.
organic growth,
Don't forget about that.
maybe a little targeted advertising.
Sometimes.
And these tools, Canva, Hootsuite, Facebook Ads Manager, like it's starting to feel like social media success is within reach,
It is.
even on a tight budget.
You got it.
And, the podcast mentioned that 85% of small businesses reported gaining new customers through social media.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
That's huge.
So it's not just about, vanity metrics. It's about real business growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to that core message. You don't need a huge budget to win at social media.
Right?
You just need to be strategic, creative, and willing to experiment.
I love that. Okay, so I have a question that's been lingering in my mind.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about organic growth, but is it really possible to achieve significant growth without any paid advertising at all?
Ah, the million-dollar question.
So spill the tea. Is it just a pipe dream, or can you really go viral and build a massive following without spending a dime on ads?
It's not a pipe dream,
Okay.
but it's definitely a challenging path.
Okay.
The podcast, they make the point that it's possible,
Yeah.
but it takes a really deep understanding of your target audience, a knack for creating truly shareable content, and a lot of patience.
So it's not just about getting lucky and having your video blow up overnight.
No, it's not about luck.
There's actual strategy involved.
There is.
Okay.
The podcast pointed to some businesses that have achieved that kind of organic success.
Mm-hmm.
And what they all have in common is they're really intentional with their content.
Oh.
It's about consistently putting out stuff that resonates with your audience, engaging with your followers, and being a part of the conversation.
Okay, so it's like anything else worth having success takes effort and commitment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. But I'm curious, beyond just creating great content, are there any specific tactics the podcast recommended for maximizing organic reach?
They talked about understanding how algorithms work
Right.
on the different platforms.
Okay.
Like, for example, Instagram tends to favor Reels right now.
Right.
So if you're not creating short-form videos, you're potentially missing out on a huge opportunity for organic reach.
Okay, so it's not enough to just create great content. It's about creating the right kind of content for
Exactly.
the right platform.
Yep, and timing matters too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like, you want to be posting when your audience is online.
Right.
And that's where a tool like Hootsuite can be really helpful.
Oh, right.
Remember we talked about it being a command center?
Yes.
Well, it also has features that help you analyze when your audience is most active.
Oh,
And you can schedule your posts.
that's really smart.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Good.
But hearing all this makes me wonder, have I been approaching social media all wrong?
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay.
I mean, social media is constantly evolving,
It's true.
and it's tough to keep up with all the changes.
Yeah.
The key is to be open to learning and experimenting and finding what works for you.
I like that that's a good reminder.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we're not doing enough.
Absolutely. And the podcast had a really great message about that.
What was that?
They said that social media should be a tool for connecting with your audience and sharing your passion,
Right.
not a source of stress and overwhelm.
I love that.
It's about finding joy in the process
Yeah.
and letting your authenticity shine through.
And who knows, maybe you'll go viral in the process.
Right.
But even if you don't, the real reward is building that community and connecting with people who care.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
It's encouraging to know that organic growth is possible even if it takes a bit more time and effort.
It does.
And hey, if we can save some money along the way,
Even better.
even better. So for our listeners out there, I want you to ponder this caution.
Okay.
Is organic growth the right path for you?
Hmm.
And if so, what strategies will you implement to make it happen?
That's a great challenge.
Yeah, and remember, there's no shame in experimenting with a little paid advertising, too.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Finding that balance. Okay, so if you're looking for more inspiration and actionable advice, check out that podcast episode we discussed today, Mastering Social Media on a Budget.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's packed with tips and tricks to help you succeed.
And don't forget about those tools. We talked about Canva, Hootsuite, and Facebook Ads Manager.
Yes.
They can be game changers.
They can.
Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro.
All right, well, that's a wrap for another deep dive.
It is.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for more knowledge and insights,
That's good.
and maybe even a few laughs along the way.
Always.
All right, until next time.
Yeah. So they talk about Bombas,
Bombas.
the sock company.
Okay.
They're known for their super comfy socks and their commitment to giving back.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So, they could just blast their ads to everyone.
Right, everyone and their mother.
But that wouldn't be very effective.
No, not at all.
So instead, they use a Facebook Ads Manager
Okay.
to target people who are interested in, ethical fashion, comfortable footwear supporting social causes.
So smart.
Yeah, it's about finding those common threads,
Yeah, it's like they're speaking directly to their people.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so I've heard of Facebook Ads Manager. Yeah. It always seemed kind of intimidating to me, though.
It can be a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, is it something that a beginner can handle?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's definitely a learning curve,
Okay.
but the podcast does a good job of breaking it down,
Okay.
making it feel more approachable.
Good.
And, the best part is you don't have to commit to this huge budget, right?
Right.
You can set your daily spending as low as $1
Okay.
and then scale up as you get more comfortable.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It's like dipping your toes in the pool
Yeah, baby steps.
before you cannonball.
Exactly. Okay, but, even with a small budget, I want to make sure I'm getting a return on my investment.
Of course. Yeah. You want to see results.
Yeah. Did the podcast talk about that at all?
They did.
Okay, good.
They said businesses make an average of $5
Wow.
for every $1 spent on Facebook ads.
Okay.
Now, of course, your mileage may vary,
Of course, yeah.
but it just goes to show the potential.
The potential is there.
Yeah. And speaking of doing things right, they also highlighted a few key tools.
Ooh, yes. This is the part I was waiting for. Tools and resources. Give me the good stuff.
Everyone loves a good tool.
I want to level up my social media game.
All right. So they recommend 3 essential tools,
Okay.
and they all have free or affordable plans.
Love that.
Perfect for budget-minded folks.
Yes, me. Yeah.
So we already touched on Canva
Canva check.
for those visuals,
I love it.
but they also recommend Hootsuite
Okay.
for managing your platforms and scheduling posts.
Right.
And of course, Facebook Ads Manager for the targeted advertising.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Canva we've gushed about.
We're good on Canva.
What about Hootsuite?
Okay, so Hootsuite, imagine like a command center
Oh.
for all your social media accounts. So you can schedule posts in advance across multiple platforms.
Okay.
You can track your performance. You can even collaborate with your team if you have one.
I need that in my life.
Right. It's a lifesaver if you're feeling overwhelmed
Which I am.
by social media.
All the time.
So Hootsuite can really help you stay organized and consistent.
Okay, and their free plan is decent?
Yeah, it's really good, actually.
Does that include?
So you can manage up to 3 social accounts,
Okay.
and you can schedule up to 30 messages in advance.
Wow.
And they even offer a free trial of their professional plan,
Oh, nice.
which gives you unlimited scheduling and more in-depth analytics.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like free trials.
Who doesn't?
Did they give any real-world examples of businesses using Hootsuite?
Yeah, so they highlighted Etsy sellers
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
who have to juggle all those different accounts.
They're always on top of it.
Yeah, and they talked about how Hootsuite helps them stay organized, schedule their posts across different platforms,
Mhm.
track their performance, without getting bogged down.
Okay.
Right.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered Canva. We've covered Hootsuite. Let's talk more about Facebook Ads Manager. So you mentioned it has a bit of a learning curve,
It does, yeah.
but is it really worth the effort?
It really is. It's
Yeah.
super powerful, and it can really help you, reach the right people with your message.
Okay, convince me.
So remember that whole laser focus versus shotgun blast analogy?
Yes, I do.
All right, so Facebook Ads Manager allows you to create these super targeted ads
Okay.
based on demographics, interests, behaviors, and even lookalike audiences.
Wow.
And you can track your performance, you can test different ad variations, you can
Oh,
adjust your campaigns as needed.
So it's like constantly optimizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's starting to sound more exciting than intimidating.
Good. I like that.
And you said earlier it's pay as you go.
It is.
So it's not like an expensive monthly subscription.
Nope. You have complete control
I love that control.
over your budget.
Okay, good.
And the podcast gave a great example of a company using it effectively.
Oh, tell me who.
Wink,
Wink.
the wine subscription service.
Ooh, okay. I'm all ears.
So they've used targeted ads to reach potential customers who are interested in wine.
Okay, makes sense.
So think foodies, people who love to cook,
Right.
people who follow wine pages on social media.
Yeah, they're already primed.
Exactly. And they've seen a great return on their investment because they're really narrowing their focus.
Okay, that is smart. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
It really is all about finding the right people with the right message at the right time.
it is.
Okay, I'm getting it. Now I'm starting to see how all these pieces can fit together, these
Yeah.
tools.
They all work together.
Yeah, to create like a really powerful social media strategy.
They each play a vital role.
Okay, tell me more.
So Canva helps you elevate that content, right?
Okay.
Hootsuite helps you manage your time efficiently.
Right.
And then Facebook Ads Manager allows you to dip your toes into that paid advertising without, going overboard.
Without breaking the bank.
Exactly.
Okay, so it really does feel like social media success is within reach.
It is.
Even for us little guys.
Especially for the little guys.
Yeah, and it's not just about those vanity metrics either.
No.
The podcast mentioned that 85% of small businesses reported gaining new customers through social media.
That's huge.
That's a big deal.
That's a game changer.
It is. So it's about real business growth.
Real results.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that idea that you don't need a massive budget to win at social media.
You just need to be strategic, you need to be creative, and you need to be willing to experiment.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so I have a question that's been lingering in my mind.
Okay, hit me.
We've talked a lot about the power of organic growth,
Yes, we have.
but is it really possible to achieve significant growth without any paid advertising?
The $1 million question.
Right, so spill the tea.
Good.
Is it a pipe dream, or can you really go viral and build this massive following without spending a dime on ads?
It's not a pipe dream, but it's definitely challenging.
Okay, so it's possible,
It is.
but it takes work.
It does.
The podcast made a good point about needing a deep understanding of your audience
Yeah, you really got to know your people.
and a knack for creating content that people want to share.
And that's not always easy.
Definitely not. And then, of course, patience.
Lots and lots of patience.
So it's not just about, crossing your fingers and hoping your video goes viral overnight.
Right. It's not about luck.
It takes strategy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they mentioned some businesses that have achieved that kind of organic success.
They did.
What do those businesses have in common?
Well, they're all incredibly intentional with their content.
Oh, interesting.
It's about consistently putting out stuff that resonates with their audience, engaging with their followers, being a part of the conversation.
So it's like anything else worth having, you got to put in the effort.
Pretty much.
Okay, but are there any specific tactics they recommend for maximizing that organic reach?
Well, they talked about understanding algorithms.
Oh, yeah, those pesky algorithms.
Right, because each platform has its own little quirks.
Exactly.
Like, for example, Instagram is really loving Reels right now.
Reels, yeah.
So if you're not creating short-form videos,
Yeah, you're missing out.
you're potentially leaving a lot of organic reach on the table.
Okay, so it's not just about creating great content, it's about creating the right kind of content
Exactly.
for the right platform.
For the right platform at the right time.
Right, because timing matters too.
Big time. You want to be posting when your people are online.
Makes sense.
And that's where a tool like Hootsuite can be really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how we talked about it being a command center?
Yeah.
Well, it also has those features that can analyze when your audience is most active.
Oh, cool.
And you can schedule your posts accordingly.
Okay, that's super helpful.
It takes some of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so I have to admit, hearing all this makes me wonder, have I been approaching social media all wrong this whole time?
I wouldn't say all wrong.
Okay, well, maybe just a little wrong.
It's easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing.
It really is.
And social media is constantly changing.
It's true.
It's hard to keep up. I think the most important thing is just to be open to learning and experimenting
Okay.
and to find what works best for you and your business.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. It's easy to compare ourselves to others
It is.
and feel like we're not doing enough,
Absolutely.
you know?
And the podcast had a really good point about that.
Oh, what was that?
They said social media should be a tool for connecting with your audience and sharing your passion,
Right.
not a source of stress.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you want to enjoy the process
Right.
and let your authenticity shine through.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe you'll go viral along the way.
I mean,
But even if you don't, the real reward is building that community and connecting with people who care.
couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so I think that's the perfect note to end on.
I agree.
It's encouraging to know that organic growth is possible,
It is.
even if it takes a little more time and effort.
It's worth it, though.
And hey, if we can save some money along the way, even better.
All about that budget-friendly approach.
So for our listeners out there, I want you to think about, this is organic growth the right path for you?
It's a good question to consider.
And if so, what strategies are you going to use to make it happen?
Put those learnings into action.
And, if you want to experiment with a little paid advertising, that's okay too.
Absolutely no shame in that.
It's all about finding the right balance for you.
Exactly.
All right, so if you want more tips and advice, definitely check out the podcast episode we discussed today, Mastering Social Media on a Budget.
It's packed with good stuff.
And don't forget about those awesome tools we talked about, Canva, Hootsuite, and Facebook Ads Manager.
Those are game changers.
All right, so that's it for another deep dive.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for more insights and knowledge,
See you next time.
and maybe even a few laughs along the way.
Always.
All right, until then.
Take care.
That's a wrap for this episode of Undone Marketing. If you liked what you heard, don't stop here. Check out our other episodes for more straight takes on today's hottest marketing topics. New episodes dropping weekly, so hit follow and stay ahead of the game. Got a question or topic you want us to tackle? Find us online and let's keep the conversation going. See you next time.